All right, it's 10 a.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and also remain standing after we're done. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had a couple community members who were lost tragically last Saturday, so if we could, a brief moment of silence for Mr. DeWitt, Mr. Finn. Thank you. All right, we've all had a chance to look at the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll restate the agenda items. We'll have public input on non-agenda items. If you choose to speak, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. We have consent agenda items comprised of minutes, general funds checks, and a capital improvement project check. Then we go on to unfinished business, where we'll review an offer for purchase of the 3043 Estero property. And then that's the last thing on unfinished business. New business will be a presentation of the 24-25 budget. We'll go into chief's remarks, commissioner remarks, and then we will adjourn. Any changes to the agenda as stated?
None.
Okay, at this time, any public input on non-agenda items? Going once, going twice? Thank you very much. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion for approval of consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
On to unfinished business. Chief?
Thank you, Commissioners. So under unfinished business, we have one item, and it is the offer for purchase of Fire Station 31, 3043 Estero Boulevard for people who are watching remote. So last meeting, we deliberated on that and decided to counter with the two valid bidders that we had under our sealed bid process. One of the vendors did provide a new offer. That's in front of you today. That offer is for $875,000 to cash purchase, as is, no contingencies, with the one exception that the bidder has asked to be able to take a ride down the boulevard in one of the fire trucks, if he is successful.
Can we charge him for that?
I'm hoping it wants to be a passenger.
Can we charge him a couple $100,000 for that?
Always a hit hard, right?
It increases to $900,000.
Okay.
He said that an additional, his final highest was $900,000.
Okay, we will confirm that. We will confirm that with him.
Chief, you want to see if he wants to buy the engine?
The other bidder, we did communicate with the second bidder, and he thought he was going to be able to come back with an all-cash offer, but circumstances didn't play out, and so we have in front of us one bid in writing in the amount of $875,000. In addition to that, communicating with our realtor, Dan Burrell, who's here today. Dan had been working with a few other interested parties since our last meeting. And they were contemplating, and at this point, as of today, we don't have any other offers in writing that would compel me to direct, to suggest that we go back out and do another sealed bid process. So that's where we stand today, and I'm ready for questions.
So I have a question about the building
Yes.
on the property. What is the status of that building? Is it on the 50% list with FEMA, or?
The building as it was is not on the 50% list, but it was at one point red tagged, and it was because of the demolished portion in the front. Once that was taken away, the building was re-statused. It was re-inspected by the structurals and marked as yellow, meaning caution.
Okay.
So at this point, the two-story part of the building doesn't show structural defects,
Okay.
but it's going to need electrical
Can
and
it
plumbing.
stay on the property, or does it have to come down?
It would depend on the use. That is something that a buyer would have to do in due diligence. I don't know that answer, because we were always contemplating it as a critical infrastructure facility.
Right.
We know because of the floodplains and whatnot that we can't reuse it in the condition it's
For
in.
what we can do.
Yeah.
Okay. That would just, that's my only concern on that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like anyone who's interested in the building to understand the status of the building as it sits.
Yes,
And make
and-
sure that's really clear.
Right, and through the whole, so that's one of the reasons that we had, you know, an extended advertisement period. The building has been available to walk and go through, so anybody who wanted to see it and evaluate it and do their due diligence was capable of doing that.
Okay, yeah, I would assume the buyer would do that and make sure the building either suits the purpose intended or
Right.
understands that it would need to come down if it does.
Now, this particular agreement does not have a contingency for due diligence period or anything like that. It is a purchase as is,
Okay.
so.
Ron?
Oh, is the family, are they satisfied with this offer?
The family is aware, they have a representative, and we've been in communication with her. She's aware of the offer, and while they know the process we've gone through, because we have kept them in the loop, I think they're prepared to go through with whatever.
And how many square feet is it?
The building itself?
Yeah, what's there?
The building itself is 5,400 square feet, 2,700 feet per foot. 5,408, if I'm remembering
And the
right.
lot size, just remind me?
Lot size is 0.16 acres,
That's it, okay.
so.
The 5,400, is that as is?
As is, yes. The front represented about another 1,300 square feet on top.
Jim?
No question.
No questions? Chief, you said the family, the heirs have no objection, or at least they haven't expressed one.
They have not.
You know, they were generous enough to originally give the district the property for use as a firehouse. It benefits the taxpayers since it's not been a true liability on us. It was a donated property. We were responsible for its upkeep basically over the last 60-plus years, I believe is the number.
Yes.
All right, so the offer as stands, just to summarize, is $875,000 sale as is, no contingencies, and that's an all-cash offer. Any other questions?
See, John,
Sir?
he mentioned 900.
We have on paper 875, though, so it's, I think the way we should probably move forward with it is that's the firm offer.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to accept the bid for $875,000 for the property at 3043 Estero? Is there a motion?
I will, yes.
And I'll second it.
Second, great. Any further discussion amongst the board?
Nope.
Chief? Public input?
None?
Going once, going twice. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Very good.
Good
Thank you.
work, Chief. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And Dan, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
And congratulations to
Yes.
the buyer and a fire truck ride.
With waivers.
Yeah.
With waivers, for sure.
Chief, when will it close, or did we just close it?
We will turn, so Attorney Salzman is, he's engaged a firm, so they're going to handle the closing for us. So we'll get the counteroffer agreed to with the buyer and work through with Attorney Salzman on getting those dates. But, you know, the hope would be get this thing done as quick as possible. If it's a cash offer, it should be fairly quick.
And that money's going to be, of course, divided between closing costs, the heirs, and then any remaining balance.
That's
will go to
correct.
our-
Just for the record, the heirs, and again, working with the family and confirming it, because our surveys that we have are very old, so we actually plotted out the two different pieces that make up the .16 acre parcel, and they sit right at 40% value. So this will be a 60-40 split between the district and the family. So
The remaining balance goes to the replacement station.
that's correct. That'll come up in the budget. Yep.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item we have is unfinished business, or I'm sorry, new business. Present the 24-25 budget.
Yes, thank you. So we have been working, I say we, mostly Jane, but we've been working diligently on pulling together our budget for the coming year. And to start with, I got a slide up there on the millage rates for where we currently stand. Last meeting, we had set tentative millage rate at 2.8 mils. And after finalizing all of our numbers, I'm recommending that we hold it to 2.8 mils for this year. That does represent about a 10% tax decrease to the community over where we are currently at 29851 mils, so just shy of 3 mils. Last year, you'll see our taxable values were 3.1 million. This year, we're working off a taxable value of 4.6 billion. I said 3.1 million, it was 3.1 billion. We're currently working this year on a taxable value of $4.64 billion. Just for reference, that does represent we're still about 14% below the taxable value we were at before the storm in 2022. At 4.6 billion, that's generating 12.35 million for us to work the budget this year. Any questions on millage or taxable values? Okay. On the revenue side, property taxes are estimated to bring in 12.35 million. Impact fees are unchanged from current year at 40,000. Fees for service, our life safety fees, we're estimating 850,000. For the current year, we had estimated 500,000, and we have been very busy in that branch. A lot of work's happening. We recently, 2 meetings ago, brought on Lehigh Acres for their plan review. So those are the reasons we're setting the budget for life safety fees at 850. Ambulance transport fees at 110,000. That's up from 75,000. We're starting to see, as we anticipated, the call volume from after the storm is starting to pick up a bit. So we're going from 75,000 to 110,000 in this budget. Under miscellaneous, we have interest earned. We have 525,000 budgeted as interest to be earned this year. Just to note, we're estimating about 800,000 in interest this year. There's a couple factors that are causing us to budget a little lighter next year. One, we're starting to see indication that rates are going to come down on the interest we're earning, and we're going to be starting to use these reserves for our construction projects. An insurance grant program for 5,000 that comes through most years, and that's from our insurance company for purchasing new equipment related to life safety response. Sale of assets, the 486,000 is the estimated amount that we will receive from the sale of Fire Station 31 once we pay commissions, closing costs, and we make the split with the Zimmer family. Intergovernmental revenue, 21,000. That is a pass-through. That is money that comes directly from the state for our folks who have the current budget is estimated to be 22.8 million. That gives us a total on our revenues of $37,187,314. Any questions on revenue side? Okay. For expenses, our personal services, $11,649,000. This breaks down for salaries, makes up about 7.3 million. The benefits makes up about 3.15 million. Insurance makes up about 1.2 million. So that's kind of how that dollar amount breaks down. Under professional and contractual services, we're down about 600,000 from last year's budget on the expenses. The reason is that a large part of our professional services have been moved over to a construction and project budget, which is the $9 million that we receive from the state. So the remaining professional services are coming out of that fund. So what we do have in there is about 80,000 for legal. We have professional services. We do have 83,000 in there. That $83,000 is money that we're allocating to work with a civil engineer to start work on Main Street. So we want to begin that project by looking at the seawall design and getting the site laid out and start filling it. So we'll be working with the civil engineer before we get started on the building design. Our medical director, her fees are unchanged at $48,000. Our accounting fees and auditing is $37,000. Contractual fees, $43,000. Our property appraiser fees are $60,000, and our tax collector fees are $260,000. That makes up that $600,000. And then in communications and freight, our phone system at $13,000, and that covers our fiber and our cell phones. Our radios cost about $95,000 a year to be on the 911 system and to have those radios under maintenance agreements and programming agreements. And then freight is $2,500. Under occupancy expenses and commercial insurances, our electric is about $35,000. Water's $23,000. Garbage is about $14,000. And then our insurances, our collection of our liability and our property insurances is going from $265,000 to $444,000. So we are not exempt from the effects of insurance. Under repairs and maintenance, that $297,000 is made up of $150,000 for buildings, $100,000 for repairs on vehicles, suppression equipment of $30,000, and medical gear at $13,000. Under operating supplies, that $676,000 breaks down fuel at $43,000, medical supplies at $60,000, suppression gear at $290,000, and this is the bunker gear that you've already approved. That payment will be made in the upcoming year based on the lead time for delivery. Our communications, $7,000, life safety supplies, $5,000. And then some other ancillary ones. Another big one is software and licenses at $107,000. Under education and training, you see $225,000, and this includes everything for the individual career development plans that each individual submits, working on their associates, their bachelor's, or other certifications. It also includes conferences for professional development. And conferences and professional development, things of that nature. This also includes, $225,000 includes travel, and some of these conferences that we're suggesting are in other places around the country that do specific hands-on training for fire companies where they can get a whole week of training. So there is a good amount of travel involved in making these things happen. And then under capital expenditures, you have $2.1 million, and that is going to, we have $500,000 of that is allocated towards the property on Main Street to get started with that. And $900,000 is for the stock fire engine. That'll be coming early part of $166,000. That is our annual payment for the ladder truck and engine 32 combined. This is, we have 3 more years left on this payment, and then we will be debt-free. So our total operating expenses are projected to be $16.5 million for the year. Any questions on that part of it, any expenses? Okay. Last part of our budget is the reserves. So under the capital sustainment plan, this is the money that we allocate for the replacement of our large ticket items, our ladder trucks, our engines, our buildings, the higher dollar equipment, whatnot, our radios. So right now that plan is, those reserves will be at $4.9 million. We have $13.2 million allocated to building replacement. This will make up about 3.5 of this will make up the difference between the state's $9 million and what we need to do the fire station, and the remaining almost $10 million will be allocated to headquarters. Millage sustainment is at $1.2 million, and as we know, as we just went through, this is a reserve fund you almost never think you're going to need, but we relied on it heavily. And then disaster response, the 1.2 million, that is up from about $1 million from last year, but that, as we go back to our full staffing, we have to be able to all out operate for 30 days until we start seeing reimbursements from FEMA or firm insurance. So this includes paying our all-out services. It could be doubled up on shifts for 30 days, and it also includes, excuse me, emergency repairs that have to be done to facilities to get them open. And then the last part is $50,000 for firefighter presumptive illness. In the event a firefighter has a cancer case that is not covered by our insurance policies. So our designated reserve fund balance is projected, is budgeted at $20.646 million. And to summarize it, we're looking at total 24 revenues of $14,387,314. Our fund balance brought forward $22,800,000 for a total revenue of $37,187,314. On the expenditure side, we have $16,540,850. And then under reserves, $20,646,464 for a balanced budget of $37,187,314. With that, I'll take questions.
Questions? Huh?
I have one question. When we met, you mentioned that you were considering funds for a high water kind of truck.
Yes, so I am plugging in after the events of Debbie and the storm before it. We are going to go ahead and build a high water vehicle this coming year. We've had the opportunity through the Urban Search and Rescue team and being a part of that board to understand what they're doing in high water. So we're going to try and build something that will help us traverse the island when it's too deep for the fire trucks, but not so deep that we need to bring in the search and rescue boats. So there's $100,000 in the capital expenditure for that.
When you say build, what you mean? Have one made for us?
We'll purchase a vehicle.
Yeah.
So Urban Search and Rescue, for example, they just recently took delivery of 2 pickup trucks. They're working with a local vendor that raises them.
Okay.
So a suspension lift, bigger tires and whatnot.
Got it.
Yep.
Chief, and that vehicle will also be available for mutual aid calls, correct? So
It will.
If Benita or
Yes.
anybody else has an issue, we can
Yes, yeah.
have that asset.
For the last 2 events, we've requested and received mutual aid from other districts, from forestry and high water vehicles from other districts in town.
How much high water can it deal with?
So we direct the crews that when they're out in the fire trucks, anything above the hub of the truck is kind of that threshold where they got to be careful, don't go any higher than that. You start getting into electronics and you start, the air intakes and whatnot. So somewhere between that threshold, which is probably about 18 inches of water, and I'm thinking somewhere around 30 to 36 inches of water. And then anything above, because we got to also worry about moving water, it can get so deep that it'll move us too. So somewhere between 18 inches deep and that 32-inch deep window, if you will. And if we're starting to see anything that deep, we're already calling for search and rescue teams and their boats.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? Any questions from the public, input? Great, thanks, Chief, great job.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Jane, for
Yes.
the hard work as always.
Once again.
And, big numbers with big expenses. All right, next item of business is Fire Chief remarks.
Yes, just a few things. The first thing I would like to do is remember the folks who lost their life, but also make sure that the rest of the community is aware of carbon monoxide safety. We have the information's posted to our website on carbon monoxide safety. After the hurricane, where we really pushed out a lot of messaging on generators, we posted to our site and we've re-upped that information on carbon monoxide safety, carbon monoxide detectors. We do have detectors at the office, at headquarters, 100 Voorhees Street. And if anybody is interested in getting those, we have them available. They're free. And they can go to the website, get information on it, or email us, info@fmbfirefl.gov. There are safety warnings that are available on NFPA's website, on American Red Cross's website, and even the hurricane guides, preparedness guides that we have and the county has information on generator and carbon monoxide safety. So, tragic accident, we hope we don't see again. With that, Hurricane Debbie did come through. We had 17 calls for service. 2 of those were people trapped by high water that we were able to extract and get to high ground. As Hurricane Debbie went up the coast, 3 of our members on the Task Force 6 Urban Search and Rescue Team are swiftwater technicians. So Battalion Chief Terry Brunson, Driver Engineer Billy Galuski, and Firefighter Paul Montenegro, they were deployed with Task Force 6 as a state resource. They made their way up the state, was their mission, county by county, and they ended up finding most of the work, high water rescue work, in Sarasota County. So they stopped there, they dropped camp and set up their equipment, and they went to work, and they pulled out just shy of 110 people out of the Sarasota communities that were flooded to get them to high ground. So good work to those guys, and thank you for being a part of that. My third message was building the high water vehicle. We are doing that this coming year. So sometime in the next year, we'll get a vehicle purchased and get it modified to fit our needs. You never know when you're going to need this, but coincidentally, since the last meeting, we've had on site, all of our folks have gone through training with TECO Gas. We had 3 days of training provided for free by TECO safety team at headquarters. We also had a different vendor, but also provided at no cost to the district, compressed natural gas vehicle training on fires in, mostly it's garbage trucks that you see, but there are vehicles out there, heavy vehicles running on compressed natural gas, and they do present unique challenges. And then also, since the last time we met, FP&L, again at no cost to the district, sent their safety team out and provided all of our folks training on power line safety and electrical incidents. Next, I want to thank Jane. We've already done it, but I want to thank Jane for the budget and her oversight. Couldn't do it without her. And then for Jennifer, her branch is doing the hard work. They're keeping everything moving. We're on schedule. Most plans are being turned around in less than the 2-week window that we're advertising. And it's her and one other person doing the plan review. So our guys are getting the inspections done, and our latest one, I'm glad to say, is that we should see Pancake House open this weekend. So we're just finishing up, and it's been a group effort. So to her branch, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Anybody buying pancakes next week?
Maybe some sandwiches and some
Yeah,
soup.
exactly. All right, next item of business is commissioner remarks, and we'll start with Mr. Nickel.
Thank you. I really don't have a whole lot to offer this particular meeting other than my condolences to the families of those that were lost in this very tragic situation. And I hope that we, as a district and as a town, make every effort to ensure that this kind of an incident isn't likely to happen again in the future. And I appreciate our people being able to get there in a hurry and ascertain what was going on and keep the site safe for personnel moving in and out there to figure it out. So, in any event, that's really all I had. Thank you.
Mr. Wood?
Well, I want to thank Chief and Jane for their hard work to bring our millage rate down. I really appreciate that effort, and I want to thank the commissioners for supporting their efforts in that respect. You know, we've had the same millage rate for quite a few years now, and it was on purpose to build our infrastructure, but you could, you lowered it to 2.8, and I do appreciate your efforts, and everyone else does, I'm sure. Thanks, that's it.
Jackie?
Agree with what the other gentlemen have said. Thank you, Jane, and your team, and Scott, for all your hard work on that budget. And I think the millage rate reduction will really help folks, because if you've gotten your proposed tax bill, it's quite a shock. So get ready. So that'll certainly help offset some of that. And again, thanks to our team for their dedication responding to that call. Mike was a friend, so it's a particularly hard loss because it was unnecessary. And it sounds like human error played a big role in it. So I don't know how we can get the word out that these CO2 things are available at headquarters for free to people, but I will help you any way I can to get that word out to the vacation rental companies and to private homeowners, to the nonprofits, anything we can do. Have them, available at the tent at Sand Sculpting. If you show your 33931 driver's license, give someone one. Anything like that we can do. So.
Mr. Fleming?
I too wish to remember the deceased. It's sad, it's tragic. In my career, I never liked gas. I just didn't. It's dangerous. Jen, thank you for all you do. Christina, writing down everything we say. I also want to recognize our people who went to USAR. I mean, we're a small organization, but we're effective. And bigger government doesn't mean you're more effective, and usually it's more expensive. I'm looking forward to all the new construction we're doing, and I believe our future's bright. And Chief, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank Councilor King for being here today for our meeting. Thank you very much. And incoming Commissioner Farrell for being with us for the meeting as well.
Thanks. Not much I can add other than to reiterate what everybody else has said. Anytime you lose a member of the community tragically to an accident, we hope to learn from it, educate people about the problems that can be caused by things like this. And awareness is a huge issue. I've seen countless stories in the last 2 days about people changing their design plans and the use of and the types of heaters for their pool systems because of this. So the community is paying attention, and that's good to see. And then, we of course do our part. If there's ever any questions, reach out to Life Safety, and those folks are experts. They're happy to guide you. We have not only free detectors, but we have an abundance of knowledge and expertise that the community can draw from. And I have to say it again because Jane, amazing job with the budget and working with the chief and getting it done with the numbers that we have. And the community does appreciate the dip in the millage rate. It's our goal to keep moving that direction as the years progress, and we will get there with no doubt, as long as we're not faced with something unforeseen that's beyond our control. Thanks, Mr. King. Appreciate you being here. It's not your first time, and we always enjoy seeing you. But thanks for coming and paying attention to our little group. And
I have one more comment.
Yes, sir.
Larry, you can probably know, but I believe, other than auto accidents with people being killed and that sort of thing, that this is the first fatality, even though this was an accident, it's preventable, since the woman was killed in the house fire. I don't recall anything since then, and that's pushing 10 years. So.
Not in my tenure. I've been here 7.
Yeah. I don't think so.
It's the last I recall as well. That was, and again, the community was well educated after the fact on.
Well, that's when
on
we
all the
started our
issues.
house.
The rental program,
That's
exactly.
Joanne, right, yeah.
All right. Anybody from community have anything to add before we adjourn? All right, with that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.